Metal Matt, Alice Cooper here. Good name, by the way.
Hello. Right, today I'm here and I'm very lucky to have a very special guest today from Alice Cooper's touring band and also recorded many albums with Alice, Ryan Roxie. Just great to have you on here. As a big Cooper fan myself, it's really cool just to chat with you today. And I've met you once before, very briefly in Swansea. When you were playing there with Alice, but this
Nice.
is this is my first time having a proper chat with you, so yeah, really cool to.
Well, sorry, I didn't wear my Swansea T-shirt. I only have my New York T-shirt today, but the Swansea one is in the laundry because you know.
That's never mind. Everyone loves Swansea. Honestly, it's such a beautiful place.
We were just talking about how we're both chasing the sun. I look like I have almost too much sun going on right now. I'm in Cape Town, South Africa, soaking it up because it still is summer here, and the weather is great. And well, we're looking forward to heading back to Europe and the States when it becomes summer over there again. So it's kind of a great schedule with Alice Cooper these days. He tours mostly in the summertime, and then when I get off of work, uh, I come down here to South Africa where it's summer. So constantly chasing that sun.
Perfect. I know the feeling. I know the feeling. I'm here in Cancun, although it could be England. It doesn't look sort of too Cancuni
Look
here,
at
Alex.
us, a couple guys, just from I lived in Sweden for a long, long time. You lived in England, Swansea. So I mean, just look at us. You know,
That's it.
I'll bet you neither of us have anything on underneath these below these shirts.
That's
Definitely
it.
short pants. I definitely have
That's it.
short pants on.
Pretty much, yeah. Honestly, the only
Some
reason I
version.
put a t-shirt on is because I'm interviewing you today. Usually, it's just I'm from Bristol myself, but I've Swansea and all Wales and all that is very close to home. So I've seen you guys perform a lot. I saw you in Bristol. In fact, Alice was my first ever gig, believe it or not. But you weren't in the band at that time. It was Orianthe and Tommy and those guys. But you come along a little bit later again. But I know you were
Yeah.
there
I
way
joined
before.
literally like the next year. I rejoined the band because I was in Alice from 1996 up until about 2006, and then I took a little hiatus. I lived in Sweden and watched my kids grow up, which I'm very lucky to do. When they don't remember, but I remember, and those were very special years. And then around 2012, I got asked to be back in the band, and that's when you started coming to the shows. And I can see with the T-shirt that you're wearing right now, the Judas Priest T-shirt. That's good foreshadowing because Alice Cooper and Judas Priest have some shows, and I think the O2 Arena is lined up with Judas Priest later on this year.
Yeah, yeah, I was going to get onto that. As a big Priest fan, I was so excited to see it. It's a shame I've left for Mexico now. I'm living here primarily, so I'm missing all these gigs, which I'd love to. When I was in England, I'd wait for these gigs to come around every year, but that is like the perfect lineup. Alice and Priest. I can't think for me. You've always been my two top groups, and I grew up with Alice, and obviously your one of your first albums you played on was a live album, the Fistful of Alice, which I
Yep.
think being in Mexico is quite relevant. I think it was Cabo San Lucas, was it?
It was Cabo
Cabo.
San Lucas. It wasn't the first. It wasn't just the first album. It was the first show I've ever played with Alice Cooper. So it's the first time ever stepping on stage with Alice Cooper. It was filmed for VH1 as a concert filming, and then we did the live album at the same time, and then we had all these special guests like Rob Zombie, Sammy Hagar, Slash was up there as well. So yeah, no pressure at all for your first gig with Alice Cooper.
No, that is crazy, and I mean, it sounds amazing. I mean, you must be proud to have been on that album. I loved, obviously, like you say, Rob Zombie. He was on "Feed My Frankenstein," if I remember rightly, and yeah, it was my first time hearing Rob Zombie as well. Actually, I grew up on the Coop. My dad used to play it all the time. I've listened to all the albums, growing up. He's probably the reason I'm a singer myself because I loved Alice. My dad just played that stuff all the time. You know,
Well,
uh,
I'm glad he. I always chuck up Alice Cooper fans as a result of either really good parenting or really bad parenting. Either way, somehow you came to us, and I appreciate it. and the band appreciates it, and we're still rocking and rolling to this day. I like talking about that album, Fistful of Alice, because that we didn't even have a bass player the week, like the 3 days before the actual filming of that, because they switched up bass players at the last minute. Greg Smith was supposed to be the bass player, and then something happened where he couldn't do it, and then Todd Jensen came in, and that was the first time of meeting Todd. Todd Jensen currently plays in bass in Journey, and he just came in and nailed it. And I played next to him for the next couple of years on stage right. Was friggin' loud. I'll tell you that much. Todd Jensen was loud on bass guitar. It's the loudest bass, even louder than Chuck Garrick, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And yeah, he just had that classic P bass and Ampeg setup, full amps. That's when the bands were all using. That's when all the bands. There was no such thing as in-ear monitors. They were just side fills and in-ears and or regular monitors, no in-ears, and Marshalls and big cabinets, and pretty much early onset deafness.
Yeah, I was going to say you deaf now. I know most musicians from that time period now are a bit deaf. There's something that does come with the loudness of being on the stage for so long.
I learned very early on to start wearing earplugs. And what my earplugs were, to be honest with you, they were in-ear monitors, but I took the wires out because I had a very early set of in-ear monitors, but I didn't know how to use them. I didn't want to use them. I wanted to feel the music. And so I used to use them as earplugs, and then I would just have them crank the monitors and the side fills. It did a little bit of good because I can hear relatively okay still, but it's definitely had some effect over the years. And now using in-ear monitors and really controlling the sound this last decade, I've been able to prolong my hearing, I think, by at least a few more tours. So fingers
That's
crossed.
good. Yeah, you can always do the Brian Johnson thing if it gets too bad, and you can get
Yeah,
the
nobody wants
voice.
to get to the point where you have to get your ears surgically worked on so that you can just hear sounds. I
Yeah,
know that we met Huey Lewis from Huey Lewis and the News, that band, and he's had the same sort of thing. He had the same issues where it's really hard for him to hear music and stuff anymore, which is sad. I never want to not be able to uh, hear the stuff that's coming out of our amps and stuff. So again, I'm just sitting here in the studio now getting ready for this next leg of the tour and working on a bunch of my own stuff right now. So I need my ears. Definitely need my ears.
definitely. Yeah, yeah. So you're back doing your own solo stuff now, are you? You're because you've
No.
done a lot of that in the past, but have you had a bit of a break from doing that? Obviously, Alice has
Well, I
been.
mean, the break was a lot of the what happened was the move. I just moving not just countries, continents, and just getting everything set up here. It took a long time and a while to get the studio set up, and we have it all set up now so that I can record my ideas. And then basically how recording works for me now in South Africa is that I can send my tracks over to, let's say it's Robbie Miller, a producer that I work with in Canada, or someone in Sweden. I can send my tracks outside, you know, and then we all compile them there. The last couple tracks, I think Trent, the drummer that I've been using for a couple of these tracks, he's living in, I think he's living somewhere in Illinois or somewhere in the States, in the Midwest. And, then we had some guest piano that came from the UK, and everything gets sent up to Canada, gets mixed, and then it gets, we do live mixing sessions. So it's become a cool process of being able to record the stuff in your own world, in your own studio where you're comfortable with it, but then you collaborate with all these other musicians with their technology. And this is one of those instances where I think technology is the reason why I'm going to be able to put out new music in this next year.
Yeah, yeah, that's really interesting because you know, there's a lot of downsides to technology.
Technology is taking over. Brain dead generation.
But I myself, because I do my own music, but online mainly. I do perform a little bit, but I work with people like you say in mostly America. I've got someone in Las Vegas and someone somewhere else, Carmine in Las Vegas and Sophia somewhere else in America. She's lived a few places, but it's crazy how you can get together with these people, you know, and make music together and kind of, you know, it is quite a fun process to have someone, you know, the other side of the world. I'm a bit closer now to America, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm always from the old school where if we can get into a room and just hash things out like we did with the last Alice Cooper album, Road,
hmm,
that's very cool because the whole band was all in the same studio. Alice was in, you know, was there with us singing all the basic tracks. You know, we were there playing through the drum tracks and getting everything in one room. That was a great vibe. And it's very rare that you're able to do that these days. But just geographically for me, uh, living in, you know, South Africa, I haven't really found my whole circle of musicians here. So I rely on the musicians that I've known for over the years and met over the years and interviewed through the podcast as well. And all the connections that I've been able to be, you know, make being in the trenches of rock and roll for as long as I have with Alice Cooper and the other bands that I've played with, getting to use those contacts and relationships and great musicians to contribute to my music as well.
yeah, yeah, that's fantastic. Like you say, you can't beat getting in the studio and jamming with your amigos and you know having fun with it. But it's you know, it's cool. You can have the options if you do live far away and you know, or you're the other side of the world from people. You can still make good music together and kind of
Look, I'm not going to ever bag on technology if technology allows me to, you know, allows me to release music out to people that want to hear it.
yeah, yeah. I want to go back very briefly to Fistful of Alice because there was something I wanted to ask. The obviously there was the song "Is Anyone Home" on that album, which
Yeah, yeah.
I love that song, fantastic song. I don't hear it talked about that much, but it's such an amazing song, and I'm guessing that
Studio
was
track. It was a
yes,
studio track that was recorded, and I think Alice put the vocals on during that first tour that I was on with him. I think we were touring with the Scorpions in '96. That was my first sort of taste of really big touring with Alice is being able to play with the Scorpions, and it's kind of cool for full circle. This year I saw already dates on the tour schedule with Scorpions, so that'll be fun to hang out with them again and cool. But yeah, that track, um, oddly enough, the drums were played by Matt Log, who I did not know, but years later, I ended up being in a band with him. So, you know, at that time, I had not known who Matt Log was, but I had heard that, you know, Alice had some studio musicians and the record company wanted to put one studio album or one studio song out on that record. So they put that song out and Matt played the drums and I eventually ended up playing in a band called Slash's Snake Pit with Matt years later. And now, you know, big shout out to Matt Log right now because he's the drummer in AC/DC.
that's a good gig. Yeah, he seems
That's
to
that's the understatement of the year. Yeah, it's a
definitely,
good gig.
definitely, it's a good gig. But
But I
yeah,
got a
that,
good gig too, so I'm happy, you know?
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
happy
you
as
are
well.
lucky. Definitely, you're
Every
both.
it's everybody wins.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk a bit about your Glam Nation. Was
I,
that how was that whole thing? Was that quite a fun time? You were covering songs which I guess you grew up with and you loved, and kind of
yeah, Glam Nation happened in the summer of somewhere in the 19 late 90s, early 2000s. The you know, Glam Nation was born out of pure survival because at the time I was playing with Slash's Snake Pit with Matt Log, and we were hitting it pretty hard. We would hit the studio every single day. The studio happened to be Slash's house, but you know, rehearse and record all day. But then, you know, afterwards, you'd want to hang out and have a couple drinks and blah blah blah, and one thing led to another, and then so many of those nights turned into mornings that I thought, you know what, I need to form a band that maybe keeps me away a couple days a week, and
Yeah.
not hitting it too hard, and working on the just work on doing having some fun and doing something that we really liked, like playing music that was really influential for us, but do it with the whole kitchen sink, go with the fake accents, go with the costumes, go with the whole theme to every song. So we started this 70s glam band called Glam Nation. And what we would do is, early 70s glam was pretty much our playlist. Um, you know, we had songs from Alice Cooper, early Alice Cooper songs, The Sweet, Mark Bolan, T Rex, David Bowie. Um, we even kind of bridged it out a little bit and widened the spectrum, because what we consider Nick Gilder, Hot Child in the City, that's a great glam song. So we put that in there. The Runaways by, we do Cherry Bomb, or maybe even ABBA.
Wow.
What's the song SOS? It's one of my favorite songs ever been written. SOS by, I think it's structurally one of the best songs ever out there, created. But so we would just put all these songs together, and then we'd have a theme. And at that point, we'd all used a different alias, a different name. I think my name was Peter Kensington. We all took our middle name and then some name after that. Eric Dover was the singer in that band. I sang a couple songs, but Eric Dover, who his name was Doyle Harris, he was just incredible, because he went all in on the character as well, because we were characters at the end of the day. We had, fake British accents, and they were really cheesy British accents. Um, the bassist was my buddy Stefan Adika, who his name was Yashia. And then we had Eric Singer, who was the drummer. I was playing with him in Alice Cooper at the time. He also, his name, what was his, Doyle Harris. That was his alias name, or his Glam Nation name. And then we had two keyboard players. It's a little bit Spinal Tap, in the sense that, we had a revolving door with the keyboard players. It's usually with Spinal Tap, it was the drummers. But we had Teddy Zigzag. I think it was Dr. Midnight. And then we also had Derek Sherinian on the keyboards for a short time as Nicky Lemons. It wasn't a short time. I think it was between Derek Sherinian and Teddy Zigzag, Dr. Midnight, and Nicky Lemons. They kind of split the time in the band. And then we had guest guys coming up. Slim Jim Phantom was a drummer for us for one show. I remember a couple of shows in New York, a couple Halloween shows in LA. What was it? Gilby Clarke would come up as a guest appearance. And we all had these, it would always be some sort of what's tonight's theme. And, one night we adopted a love child from Bolivia because we had gone on sabbatical, but our love child was addicted to cocaine, and and then the little baby had brought back a big
Oh god.
a big pillowcase of drugs, but it ended up being just like, it wasn't real drugs.
Nah.
They hit flour over this pillowcase on the baby, and then the whole stage ended up being feathers, flowers, and bubble machines, and pretty much mayhem. That's a Glam Nation show. If you can find a Glam Nation show on YouTube, it's a real treat, because this was honestly right before social media as well. So the only time I saw people filming was, they had one of those old school VHS recorders or something like that. But there's got to be one or two really cool Glam Nation shows out there on YouTube, or someone's got to have it somewhere.
Yeah, someone has got to be knocking about somewhere. If you're watching, someone who's got it, get it, stick it on YouTube with Ryan's permission. And
No, just send it to me so I'll put it up on my channel, whatever.
There
If
you
you
go.
if you have some old, like I said, we did some cool gigs with Glam Nation. We actually did this one club. What the hell was it called? It was a very glam LA club plastic something. We reenacted the Rod Stewart stomach pumping urban legend incident. And now,
Well,
if that means nothing to you, then you obviously are very too young to understand. But if you
yeah.
know the urban legend of Rod Stewart getting his stomach pumped, I think years later it changed to Bon Jovi, and it's probably now the lead singer of, Palais Royale. It's probably moved on to somebody else. But Rod Stewart got his stomach pumped, and for reasons of being overly sexual, and that's all I'll tell you. Just look up Rod Stewart urban legend. Glam Nation reenacted it on stage,
Oh,
and we won no Academy Awards for it. I'll tell
oh,
you that.
it's one of those Mark Ullman kind of story type things. I've heard a
See,
few.
Mark Almond. There you go. There's that's probably someone that the urban legend would definitely lay on to him.
Yeah, there you go. I think I'm on the same page now. Yeah. And with the Glam Nation, did the band most of the members become the touring band with Alice? I was reading somewhere with the.
Well, I mean, yeah, eventually, basically Eric Singer, the drummer, and then we kind of recruited Eric Dover from that, and Eric Dover became a touring guitar player. One of my favorite touring guitar players to play with Alice over the years. He's just such a talented guy. And then I did play shows with Derek Sherinian and Alice, as well as Teddy Zigzag. So yeah.
Great, and of course, I want to get onto two albums which made me such a big fan of you. I love the Dragontown and Brutal Planet. They're one of my two
Nice.
favorite Alice albums, and I just love how dark they are. I think they've got to be Alice's darkest kind of stuff there,
Yeah,
and just heaviest. And I just
I
amazed
agree.
by those albums.
Definitely the lowest tunings, as far as if you're into alternative tunings and stuff, pretty much every song on Brutal Planet is either drop D, and then with Dragontown we even went even lower, even down to C standard, um, maybe even lower than that. It was some really floppy strings, I'll tell you, during the recording of those albums. That was an era, Alice tends to make albums in twos, if you think about it. If you think about, um, for instance, uh, Eyes of Alice Cooper and Dirty Diamonds, they both have a little bit of a garage type of feel. Uh, Brutal Planet and Dragontown had that sort of industrial vibe, and that was, I believe, Bob Marlette produced that, and he was in a groove. He was producing a lot of bands, and he definitely had his sound working, and he put his stamp on those songs with Alice. I was lucky enough to play on both those albums, but there are a lot of this other guitar parts on that album that was recorded that I did not play, and I've since got to meet the musicians. I've had them on my podcast. One of them being Phil X. So I actually learned Phil X's lead to the lead track Brutal Planet. That's Phil's lead on there, and everyone thinks it's my lead, but I'm giving props where props are due. That's all Phil X right there, and he
Oh
did
wow.
great.
Fair
Yeah.
play to you. And to get into the details of it, do you remember the specifics on some of those songs on those albums? What you did, some things you can tell us you did do, so we know, because you don't often know really. You try and hear it and
Um,
things, but
One of my favorite solos, I think, on either of those albums, and you'll know this better than I, is it "Take It Like a Woman"? Is that the name of the ballad?
yeah, yeah.
Is that Brutal, or is that Dragon?
I think that's brutal. That one, I think
Okay, it's one of my favorite guitar solos, and that's all me. So I will take
that is.
a big
Yeah,
credit for it, and
that is a good one.
I'm
Yeah,
very
yeah.
proud of it. Worked it out in my head, kind of like tried to tell a little bit of a story within the amount of bars of music that I was allowed to play on the solo, and I mean that's always been my sort of um, that's been sort of my game plan for approaching a guitar solo, is like you try to write a little story in this part of the song that's going to help the song out, but the solo should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, hopefully ending with on a hopeful note, if you will. And like I said, even if it's just 8 bars or 16 bars, you can better a song if you actually write a solo. And the master of that, I think, is uh, the guitar player from the band The Cars, Elliot Easton. He was a master at like taking a guitar solo and just writing a little story about it. Or Steve Stevens, for instance, another big influence of mine from Billy Idol's band. His solos are I'll tell little stories, and if you can achieve that, then I think you've done your part as a guitar player and you've improved a song.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Steve Stevens, fantastic guitar player. He's another one. I love watching his acoustic stuff with Billy Idol and seeing him shred on the acoustic. It's quite impressive.
Yeah, he actually um I went to his apartment one time in Los Angeles, and he played for me before it was ever released. He played for me his flamenco stuff. And I mean, if you go listen to it now, it's just it's incredible. But this is when he was just first recording it, and it sounded so damn good. And I was like, man, I mean, I had respect for you before, Steve, but now he's taking it up to another level. And he's
Well,
still
yeah,
there. He's still there. I still think that Billy Idol and Alice Cooper would be one hell of a tour.
definitely, definitely. That is,
Just
yeah.
saying.
Put it out there to the universe. Yeah, come round.
Always.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. And Take It Like a Woman, going back to that, that is, yeah, such a beautiful song. And I feel kind of a follow on from Only Women Bleed. It's got that same kind of energy and message
Exactly.
in
Exactly.
the song.
Had a little bit. I think they were going for that vibe because they knew that Alice already had Only Women Bleed. Um I wouldn't mind, peppering that somewhere into the set as a little nod for the hardcores.
Definitely, definitely. I think you should. Yeah, I love watching that brutally live tour. All the clips on YouTube and stuff. It's great to watch it and Pick Up the Bones, another fantastic song.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Alice's lyrics, just fantastic. The lyrics throughout those albums as well, very real things he's singing about, and it's all about hell on earth. I think, particularly Dragon
Pretty
Town.
pretty pretty much timeless, because you could release that same sort of subject matter in today's world, and I think there would probably be a lot of people that would agree
Yeah,
with,
yeah.
the brutal planet we are currently living in.
Definitely, definitely, yeah, yeah. The world has definitely went in a certain direction, and it's down, I think. But we got to keep our spirits high with music and
Well,
stuff.
yeah, that's uh, ultimately that's the reason why uh, we still get to tour, and knock on wood, it's because we can provide maybe 2, 3 hours of a distraction from all the shit.
Exactly,
We can go out there and we can jump around, entertain, hopefully play some songs that people brings people back to a better place. Not saying that it's not important to do Brutal Planet. In fact, that I wouldn't be surprised if Brutal Planet doesn't. uh might see it on the set list sometime this year. You never know,
never.
when the new show comes out. So it's important to have those types of songs, but it's also important to, you know, get people, give people what they want, which is entertainment and maybe just a break from the 24-hour doom cycle that we seem to be in.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I think music's the best therapy, and it kind of it keeps your brain in a good place, keeps your head in a good headspace. And yeah, I'm glad you continue to do it. Alice has toured for so many years now. It's great to see you still doing it. And obviously, like you say, you're on the road with Priest soon. Hopefully, you never know, you might get together on the stage to sing a song together or something. I know that can happen sometimes. So it'd be cool to see Rob
We
and
love, I mean, Rob Halford, the last time we played a show together, walked right in our dressing room, said hello to all of us, knows all of us by name. Of course, we know him by the posters on the wall and, all the album covers. But he's just one of those sweet guys, very gentle, sweet soul. Had him on the podcast, was a great interview. All the guys, I mean, in fact, in the band are very cool, and I look forward to touring with them, this year.
Yeah, fantastic. No, they're great guys. Rob is a great guy. I've met him many times as well. In fact, he's the one who called me Metal Matt, which is like my little claim to
That's good.
fame.
Yeah, I know we have that show at the O2 Arena, so fingers crossed we can turn it into more and see what happens.
If I was in England, I'd no hesitation. I'd be buying that ticket and going to the show. Yeah.
Well, if we
What else
play
was I?
Cancun, I'll definitely hook you up, and I'll definitely you know go visit you at your cabana or wherever the
Yeah,
hell you
I'd
stay
love that.
there.
The wife will make some tacos for you if you're.
Perfect.
Would do a deal. But yeah, that'd be great. Not many bands come around Cancun, strangely. I think seems to be Monterey and Mexico City quite a lot. But yeah,
Yeah.
Cancun, I'm not seeing much here yet. I'm hoping the metal. I'm trying to bring the metal here myself. I'm trying
You
to
bring them
bring.
to Cancun. I'm going to try and start bringing the bands to Cape Town. How about that?
There you go. Yeah, do it. I think that's a good thing. This music, heavy metal and rock, it resonates everywhere around the world.
There's fans. There's definitely fans.
Yeah, and there's so much passion. I mean, the kind of South America, I think probably the most passion you'll see for any bands. They really go crazy for it. I've seen it myself. Just the passion is great. Very passionate people out here, and yeah, hopefully you'll get round. I don't know. Are you playing any Mexico dates with Alice?
Um, is there anything that's been released? I think there's a South American date that's got announced. So I know it's not Mexico, but there was a South American date that got a festival that we're doing, and I believe that's sometime in June. So you never know if they package stuff around it. You know what? Just keep on bothering, keep on the boards. If you're watching somewhere from Mexico and you're watching it right now and you want to see Alice in Mexico, you know that we'd love to come. So just, get on the boards, get on the chats, and just start, asking for Alice, because they listen. They
Yeah,
actually do. They keep tabs on who wants to see Alice. And I think at this point in Alice's career, everybody should want to go see the Alice Cooper show at least one more time. And it always surprises me. There's always a few people that have never seen Alice before the show that I meet them at, and they're like, I had never seen Alice before. I'm like, well, I'm glad you did now, because this is a very cool time to see Alice. Obviously, we'd all like to see Alice Cooper back in 1970, 5 on the Welcome to My Nightmare tour. That is the dream for all of us in the band as well. But we do our damn best to recreate the spirit of the music and all the songs that he's had since then, up until today. you know, we try to keep it fresh in the same spirit, and we do it with as much energy as we can. So I'm really happy with the energy of this lineup, this band. I don't have to tell you who's in the band, but we all know Chuck, Garrick, and Glenn Sobel are holding down the rhythm section. My left hand man, I call him Tommy Hendrickson on the guitar, and myself on the stage right. He's on stage left, and then Nita Strauss on the guitar as well. And then, of course, we're a cover band with the original singer. How about that?
exactly. No, you are all killing it. Alice is killing it. You're killing it. What I've loved is you're so tight. You're such a tight band, and you do nail the music. There's no fault there at all. You play it note for note, and
I
with
always
the
try to play it in the spirit which is recorded, which means every couple of years, go back and listen to the original recordings and go, okay, what have I moved away from a little bit? Because, a band will do that. There's no doubt. Even if you go see the Eagles right now, or they'll play certain versions of their song a little bit different than they had perhaps when they first recorded. Case in point, I just went and saw Styx. We did this Rock of Legends cruise. There you go. Shameless plug for Rocks of Legends. I have no reason to plug them. The fucking cruise is over, but it was a really fun. It was a fun cruise, and I got this water cup out of it. So
that's good, right? You didn't need pay. It's the water.
but anyway, I went to go see Styx, and I loved them. They put on a great show. I just some of their songs, they have a different arrangements than what they play than when it was recorded, and I think it is important, every couple of years, just to revisit the original recordings, because that's what most people hear are those original. And then when they come to see it live, if you put a little flavor, a little of your own stamp on it, that's awesome. But do your best to those key elements of a song, to nail them as closely as you can, to the originals. And that's why I try to play the opening of Schools Out just like the way Michael, Bruce, or Glenn would have done that, or a swanky solo at 18 or something. Yes, I'll put a little bit of my style in it on it, but I also try to, you know, never forget, you know, never
So
forget the guys that allow us to still be touring today, which is that original band.
totally, no, that's really smart, and I think that's really good advice, because I think, like you say, it's so easy to go away from something when you're playing it a lot, and it's hard to kind of sometimes create that same sound, but you put the time in to kind of study it, and I think that's what makes it so good. Is obviously it's got a nostalgic feel for the very old fans who are coming along who want to hear that album,
Yeah.
be it
Yeah.
Billion Dollar Babies or whatever, with that great guitar sound. And if you can kind of create a bit of that nostalgia and bring something fresh as well, it's a cool thing. And I highly recommend Alice. It was my first ever show, and if you haven't seen Alice, it's definitely a show you got to see. It's definitely the best shows I've ever seen. And I remember the first show, he was looking at me right in the eyes. I was front row, and that stuck with me, and you just remember Alice looking at you and just like, wow, it's crazy. It's like, wow, Alice looked at me, it's just like, he's very
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah, he's got
Um,
when that's the thing. When Alice is on stage and he becomes Alice,
it's
he's
like,
not the same. He's not the same Alice as when he's backstage or after the show when we're playing, when we're playing poker on the bus and stuff. He's a different character. He really gets into being Alice. Not that he's a different person completely, because Alice is Alice. I mean, and people should never try to say, "Oh, well, I know him as Vince." No, you don't know him as Vince. His wife knows him as Alice. His kids know him as Alice. I know him as Alice. He's always going to be Alice. It's just that when he gets on stage, he's Alice fucking Cooper. And
exactly.
it is intense, and it is a vibe. And you got to watch yourself, because at that point, if he stabbed you, it wasn't Alice stabbing you, it was Alice Cooper stabbing you, and he didn't mean to do it. It's just that you were in his way from popping a balloon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, must be quite scary sometimes.
I mean, there's always some sort of something that you have to watch out for on that stage, because there's things flying all over the place. There's he'll take a knife and he'll just throw it on the stage, but if you're jumping around on the stage, you don't want to step on a knife, and you don't want to, and then the bubble it sounds harmless and it sounds completely innocuous, but the bubble machine the bubble machine is taking down more people than the friggin' swords. I'm
Really?
telling you, because the bubbles are made out of soap and this liquid, and they pop. They hit the
Yeah.
ground. Right. So what's
Yeah.
left? This little slippery, like glass-like residue that has taken out Nita. She's fallen. Taken out Cheryl. She's fallen because of it. Taken out me. I've slipped and almost just completely ate it off stage. So the bubble machine is much more dangerous than the swords.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Who needs a
That's something
guillotine
you
when you got
probably didn't expect to
bubbles?
hear.
Yeah, that's crazy. And yeah, obviously, Alice, like you say, is so good at getting into character. It's incredible how he can become that person. I think that's what everybody loves with Alice, just how he can totally transform, on that stage and kind of turn into that person. I think that's something a very unique thing to him. There's not many artists who can totally absorb that character. And obviously, going back to albums like From the Inside and stuff, he totally got into the mind of the characters he was singing about, and it's been a running theme. And as a big horror fan that he is, I think he's incorporated that throughout his career, and all the songs and lyrics, and together it's really creates something unique. So it's great music, and I'm glad you've been out there. Obviously, Kane Roberts was back in the band. I love his stuff on Raise Your Fist and Yell and Constrictor.
Yeah.
Amazing beast of a guitar player, and great songs, great period that period of time that he was in the band originally, and it must have been great having him back. How was that whole thing?
I feel so lucky to have been able to tour with Kane, because ever since I joined the band in '96, it was he was the most recognizable guitar player of all the guitar players that Alice has had over the years. He's the muscle guy, he's the Rambo, he's the monster, and it was Kane Roberts. And people would come up to me and say, "Are you the muscle guy?" And I'm like, do I look like the muscle guy? I mean, I was like a skinny little blonde dreadlocks, and I was not the muscle guy. But years later, after hearing Kane's name around the camp for so long, we were lucky enough to tour together, and I still have a very special place in my heart for Kane, and I know he has it for us as well. So it's always a pleasure if he can come up, for any time that he can guest on up there with us, or you never know. Never count Kane Roberts out. He'll surprise you when you least expect it.
That's it. Yeah. I'm waiting for a bit of chop, chop, chop to be added to the set list. That'd be
getting deep. That's getting deep cuts now. All right, you're getting a
bit,
little too deep on those cuts.
Might be a little bit. Yeah, it was great just to see the clips of him back performing with you guys, and you seem to all have a great chemistry together. And hearing some of those songs, "Freedom Again" and things like that, it was just great to watch. So,
to actually play those '80s songs with the guy that wrote them, and was part of that whole era. It was really cool. And I know that Alice and Kane have such a long history, that they were kind of like, two brothers. I look at Alice as like my older brother, but like, they were like kind of like the same brother. They went through that '80s success. They shared it together. But I look more of Alice as a mentor, and a guy that's taught me so much about music, so much about the music business, and even more about how to enjoy life when you're in the music business. And I think he does as good a job as anyone can in enjoying life and making the best decisions, of being in this rock and roll business, which can be quite tumultuous at times.
Yeah. He certainly seems to have a good balance of his normal life and his on-stage life, which I think is important. Obviously his family's very important to him, and all these things, and he's a very I guess I could never say normal with Alice, but he seems off stage he can be just a family man that he is.
Yeah, well, he's true with that. He talks about it in interviews, and he holds true to it in real life. We have a very family oriented vibe. It's great when my wife comes out on the road and she can hang on the bus for a week or two, or when my son comes out with me on the road. I haven't had my daughter out on the road with me for a while, but they've come to a lot of shows, and my son's been out on the road with me a couple times now. So everyone's very welcoming. Alice's wife is in the show, Cheryl. She's in the show. Calico's also in the show. She comes out, multiple times to her, because she comes back to save the day a few times last year when we were on tour, and Cheryl got hurt doing at one of the shows, and she had to take it easy. She couldn't do full on what she does, so she had to sort of recuperate for a little while, and she got better. But during that interim, Calico came in as the hero and saved the day. So Alice is a very he's a really, how do you say, the best way to say it, honest, sincere, those are all things. He's true. He's a true guy. And I think that's why people can see he's authentic, and people can see that, and kind of drives us to be the same way. So, we're not angels, and no one is perfect, but we do our best. And I think what we do best is entertain on stage, and that's basically our job, and that's why Alice hires us, and that's why we are, again, lucky enough to continue to go out, and I look forward to seeing you guys when we come out there this year.
Yeah, no,
because
that's
because
amazing.
I'm gonna go back and start writing my songs pretty soon, because I mean, I'll show you right now. I got my
Yeah, no worries, man.
But
Yeah.
so anyway, this is going to be my world for at least a little while, until we kick out and start these long tours. So whenever you release this, we should be out there on the road by that time, or if not, very shortly thereafter. If you ever want to find out anything about me and my world, RyanRoxie.com for all of you that have any interest or are curious. And if you're curious about playing guitar, I've got a whole system for that too. So,
Brilliant. That's
what do you
very
play?
cool.
What do you play, Matt?
Well, I sing, but I do play a bit of guitar. I've got my guitar over now. It's here actually, but it's not. It's out of tune. It's one of these awful little flamenco things. The only thing I could get over it. But I used to play Desperado, but I don't know if I can remember it now. But don't know if I play it right or not. But
Yeah, what key do you do it in?
this is in E, I think, but I don't know. This guitar goes out of tune very quickly.
It's close. I know it.
Yeah, close.
We haven't played that song in a long time.
Yeah.
But
I gotta get out. Very cool. Yeah, no, I sing mostly these days. I used to play guitar, but then I thought, well, I kind of discovered my voice a bit more, and I thought, well, I'm going to go fully into singing. So most of my life I've been singing now, but it's something I love, and Alice is always a big inspiration, and Priest, they're my two biggest influences. I like to scream, I like the kind of Holford scream style. And also a bit of rock kind of edge, Alice Cooper type vocals. But
Lost in these changes. What am I to do?
yeah, it's a fun thing to explore and kind of
carry the torch and create your own world down in Cancun and spread the metal.
I am. Yeah, I do. I do a gig on a Friday out here at the moment, playing at a bar, just playing all my favourite kind of tunes, bit of Alice, bit of Priest, some 80s pop and stuff. So it's good fun. It's a good place to be, just to rock out and enjoy. And I was going to say, is there any, before you go, is there any more Alice riffs you could jam very quickly?
Well, I mean, it is the acoustic guitar, so it's kind of, not
True.
so easy to play Alice Cooper ones,
True,
but do I know it?
I think so. Yeah, you got it.
Wait. Wow. Again, that was like that stuff that's like way back in the cerebral
memory.
I think I don't even think it's I don't even think it's in my brain anymore. It's somewhere in my spine that you remember those songs. And again, like, maybe a song like that, an old school Halo of Flies, is something that maybe should be brought back at one point.
Yeah. No, that's
You know,
very
before,
cool.
at least before Alice stops touring, maybe one more Halo of Flies round would be fun to do.
It would be good. Yeah. Can I? I'm not going to keep getting you to play stuff, but could I hear a bit of Only Women Bleed? It's one of my
Oh,
favorite
that's a
tracks.
good one for acoustic, yeah.
It is. Yeah. It's just.
Man got his woman to take his seat. He got the power, oh, she got the need. Too often he smokes and drinks and don't come home at all.
Only women bleed.
Only women bleed. Only women bleed.
Very beautiful. And
There you go, folks. That's
there you
it.
go. Thank you very much. And I had a couple of messages from some people you might know. Calico Cooper just wanted to say shame. Does that mean something to you?
Shame. Yes,
Yeah.
it's shame. That is, there's a lot of shame that goes on in our poker games. And if you don't put your money in, or you forget to put your money in, or you kind of try to delay putting your money in the pot, you get shamed. So that's where that comes from. Or it just
Uh,
comes from all, overall, there's just basically a lot of shame on the road.
Oh no, that's great. And I had a good chat with my pal Satchel the other day, and he just wanted to say, I've got the message here. He said we golfed together, and it was a blast. Do you remember golfing with Satchel? Um,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He's a
he
good
just
golfer.
yeah,
Both
he
both,
said. Sorry,
both
carry on.
him and both Satchel and Sticks it in ya. Both Satchel and Sticks are great golfers. Alice was so impressed with the way they golfed. He wanted to take them on the road just to be golf buddies. I mean, he loves the band, but he also wants to take them on to be golf buddies. So that would be another tour that would be insanely fun. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah. Steel Panther, yeah, they're one of the most fun bands out there, and obviously Satchel, amazing player. But he wanted to say to you, he said he's rad. Say hi from me. Great guitar player too. So there you go. That's from Satchel there.
You know what? Satchel is actually talk about giving, credit back. That guy is insanely good guitar player. And he's so good at playing guitar that if you go back and check out who's the guy that in Mr. Big,
Paul
um,
Gilbert, was
if
it?
you go check out Paul Gilbert's first guitar video, first one that he ever put out, like that shows you all these little exercises and stuff of how to become a shredder, you'll see Satchel playing bass.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I
Have
saw
you
a
seen
show.
that? All right,
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah.
So he's such a good guitar player that he plays bass.
Exactly. No, he's crazy. He's right out there. He's incredible player.
And usually it's the other way around. Usually it's like you're not such a great guitar player, so you play bass.
Yeah, that's usually
Oh
how
God, the bass players are going nuts right now.
they
No, but
are. They're not gonna.
honestly, I think there's something to be said about a driving bass player. I'm actually trying to write a song right now that could use a really good bass player because I'm just doing my
Yeah.
and I think that's pretty cool too. But like all downstrokes, there's something to be said about those bass players out there that just hammer it with all the downstrokes. So
Yeah, exactly. But that's very cool. And
if you play
it's fun.
bass like that, you give me a call and I'll put you in my band.
Yeah, well, I might know a guy on the subject of Satchel. Obviously, he played with Fight as well with Rob Holford for a while. He was in the Fight band, and I recently did a project with JJ, who was also in the Fight band, the bassist of Fight, and he's got a very cool. I was discussing with him the other day that I love his sound because the bass is so up there. It's not just in the background. It's like you can hear it. It's proper nice sounding bass. And he's a really cool one. We did cover a Devil's Child child the other day, which was cool.
Oh,
So
nice.
he might be worth calling him up. He's a
You
great
know,
player.
when it all comes down to it, though, Dennis Dunaway, one of the best bass players of all time. I mean, I know I you know, razz some bass players from time to time, say the whole quote bass is bass, but you get guys like Dennis Dunaway, just that recorded all those classic songs, and it's such a unique style. Is amazing. And
Yeah.
whenever I do see, I like night after night, I get to play next to Chuck, and Chuck is just, straight ahead, lays it down, would make any, would want to be, he plays guitar with Beasto, but, I know him as my bass player for so many years of playing with him as well. And he plays great guitar as well. But I mean, like I said, I'm more that guy that just likes to, I play bass like I play guitar, all downstrokes. So, you know what? All that stuff I said about bass players earlier, disregard it. I love you, bass players. And
Yeah.
if you play all downstrokes again, give me a call. But
yeah,
I'm going to go back to recording now. But,
yeah.
I'll see you guys, the rest of you. I'll see you somewhere out on the tour. And if you aren't following on Instagram already, go check out Instagram. All the links are at ryanroxie.com. So pretty easy to find me.
Yeah, check it all out. And so you got new music coming soon. So keep your eyes peeled, guys.
The new music is going to be only for, I'm releasing it first off only for the All Accessors. And if you're interested in the All Access group, it's kind of like a niche sort of inner circle of the RGA. And what is the RGA? The RGA is the Roxie Guitar Army. And that's pretty much which is on my public channel. I call anybody that follows me on my regular Instagram part of the Roxie Guitar Army. But if you want to be part of an All Accessor, there's links to that as well. And I release new music to them. I do private live streams as well. I do guitar lessons, all those types of stuff. The podcast, you get, episodes that come out before or, without anybody else that have seen them. So there's a lot of special stuff that happens if you're an All Accessor. So check it out if you'd enjoyed this interview, and just know that I'll be here in the studio practicing and recording, and hopefully coming up with some new bass riffs.
Perfect. Thanks for your time, Ryan. On the road with Alice, is it 22nd of March? Around that time.
That's probably that's the next one-off show that we're doing in Arizona, and then we start up again at the end of April, and then just make hopefully all through the end of the year. So fingers crossed, everything works good.
Thanks for your time, Ryan.
You got it.
And the best thing I can say to a guy like Metal Matt is, whatever you do, don't rust.